Hello and welcome back to Slightly Spoiled. I'm your host Elise, and today yet again we are talking about Love Island USA Season 6, this time episodes 6, 7, and 8. This was supposed to be my Tuesday episode. Unfortunately, there was a family emergency. I had to leave town last minute, so I'm 3 days late, and I do apologize to all 5 of my listeners. I hope I didn't uproot your life too much. We left off at the end of episode 5 with Kaylor and Aaron in a little bit of a scuffle. Is that a word? I don't know why that doesn't feel like a word. They were having a disagreement over Kaylor's behavior in the previous challenge. She had kissed Hakeem and she claimed that it meant nothing, but Aaron felt that he was just kind of waiting around and being made to look like a fool while Kaylor explored her other options and then maybe came back to him in the end, maybe not. So they weren't really talking about it. They finally came together and talked about it this time. He tells her that he wants to be closed off unless another girl enters who catches his eye, which is just not what closed off means at all. I'm assuming he just means that he doesn't really like anybody else but Kaylor, but that's not a commitment of any kind. She apologizes to him and he pretty much forgives her, but can't quite forget what happened. You know, his trust for her isn't exactly the same, and she is growing impatient about it. She feels like he's blowing it out of proportion a little, which honestly, he kind of is, in my opinion, but she expects things to just go back to normal because she apologized, which isn't really how things work. She complains in the morning to the other girls about how he didn't even touch her last night. He's not making any moves. The girls advise her to kind of take a step back, let him process through everything, and let him come to her when he's ready because she has apologized, she's done her part, and he just needs to figure this out on his own. Hannah is listening to this advice and she's like, should I do that too? And immediately everyone says, no way. She was in kind of a similar spot because she also kissed Hakeem, who was not her partner during the challenge, but it was very different because for Kaylor, Hakeem was a connection that she had never really explored and she could say it meant nothing. But for Hannah, it was kind of like a getting back at Hakeem kind of thing because he was mad that she led him on essentially before ultimately picking Kendall in the recoupling. After assuring Kendall that like she wouldn't explore any other connections, she goes and kisses the one guy that he's like most sensitive about her potentially liking. And so all the girls are like, this is not the same thing at all, Hannah. Are you crazy? You need to make it up to Kendall. You're in the doghouse kind of for good reason, so act like it. She's shocked that everyone seems to think this is such a bad idea. And she's like, ugh, I'm just clueless when it comes to these things because I've never had a boyfriend before. Like, I need your help so much. That is not how emotional intelligence works, okay? You don't suddenly unlock new tools to treat people with respect once you've had a boyfriend before. Treating a romantic partner with respect is really not that different than treating anyone else in your life with respect. Like, there are some rules that are slightly different, but most of them are kind of common sense, okay? So I'm sick of this excuse that like, oh, I've never had a boyfriend, so I just don't know how these things work. Have you met a person before? You're like in your mid-20s. You should know how to not be a total jerk to someone that you claim to care about. Liv and Hakeem are a brand new couple from the recoupling and things are already not going well, okay? The big problem is their kissing. Both of them agree that it's really bad. She's venting to the girls about how he's kind of like too quick with it. She does this little impression of him. And then he is talking about how she's an aggressive lip biter and she keeps her eyes open, okay? This is not looking good. Also, she tells him that the breakfast he made, that he put effort into, is a 3. And she doesn't say whether that's a 3 out of 5 or a 3 out of 10, but either way, that's mean. In my last recap, I said that Liv was just confusing me because I couldn't form an opinion on her. I have decided that I do not like her. I think she is a mean-spirited person in a lot of ways, and that doesn't change the fact that sometimes she's randomly very mature or, you know, pushes people to do things that they actually should do and that are emotionally healthy. When someone puts effort into making breakfast for you, not only to express interest in you, but also just give you their time and their attention, and you just say, yeah, that was kind of a 3, not very good. No specific feedback at all. I don't like that. Later on, Hakeem is talking to Janae and he tells her that he doesn't really like that Liv is kind of invested in other people's drama and seems to be putting more attention into that than she is into their connection, which I totally agree with. Speaking of Janae, she and Connor are having smooth sailing, so much so that I'm honestly kind of bored by it. The entirety of these 3 episodes, pretty much, Janae and Connor are just chilling out, enjoying each other's company, and watching every couple around them crash and burn. And to some degree, it's nice to have that stability, and I think in a relationship, that's great. But for TV, I'm a little bit bored. Cordell and Serena are on entirely different pages. He's really not interested in exploring any other connections. He tells Kendall in honestly a really sweet conversation. I love their friendship dynamic. They're like very giggly together. But anyway, he tells Kendall that he's waiting for Serena. He's kind of taking her lead as far as the physical aspect goes. And Kendall seems a little surprised by this, but he's like, hey, you know, whatever works. Simultaneously, Serena is talking to her friends and telling them that she's kind of done with Cordell. She doesn't feel like there's anything there and she wants to break it off. She's telling Janae and Leah that it basically feels like he agrees with everything she says. He's not being real with her. He's just kind of trying to not rock the boat, essentially. And it feels inauthentic to her. She's ready to cut it off. And so she does. She tells Cordell that she doesn't feel like this is going anywhere. They're great friends, but that's kind of all it is. And obviously he's kind of upset about that, but he takes it well. Connor gets a text announcing that tonight there's going to be an underwear party, which is a hilarious theme for a party in which everyone is basically wearing underwear all the time. Like it's just made out of lace and the men's are a little bit tighter than their bathing suits, but otherwise no change at all. We get probably the only interesting Connor and Janae moment from these 3 episodes. During the beginning of this underwear party, they go upstairs and they have like a really cute little interaction. He fans her with a pillow, they share a smooch, and they just talk about kind of how comfortable it is to be together. They feel no pressure at all, and they're just really enjoying the ride of getting to know each other. Again, these 2 are so cute. I really, really like them. I just have almost nothing to say about them at all today. Ariana comes bearing gifts. She gives each couple a box that contains 1 blindfold and 1 pair of fuzzy handcuffs, and each couple has to choose who's gonna wear which one, okay? So the fuzzy handcuffs people get kind of attached to the pole that's behind them, and then obviously the blindfold people get blindfolded. Once everybody's situated with that, she brings in 2 new bombshells named Nicole and Andrea, and they have been kind of watching, seeing who they're interested in, and they are asked to kiss 2 guys that they like the most, obviously in front of their partners, some of whom are handcuffed to a pole and some of whom can't see anything. But they do remove the blindfolds of the guys if they're wearing blindfolds so they can like see who they're kissing. Nicole goes first and she chooses Kendall and Cordell. And while she's kissing Cordell, Serena's like, I'm so happy for him, everyone. She like makes an announcement about it. And then it's Andrea's turn. She chooses Rob and Aaron, and both of them are left completely speechless. Rob has this like really devious look on his face afterwards, and he's basically like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. I really like Leah, but this girl, it's kind of undeniable between us. Once that's done, everybody sits down with the new bombshells to kind of get to know them a little bit. Andrea shares that she is from Miami, she's a Latina, and she speaks Spanish, to which Aaron decides to share that he was born in Spain and he speaks Spanish fluently. It was actually his first language. I can't express to you how shocking this was to me. I know that this is like American ignorance, but something about someone with a thick British accent being able to bust out perfect Spanish shocks me every single time. I understand it's way more common for people in Europe to learn different languages, but it never ceases to amaze me. And Aaron in particular, I was shocked, but obviously Andrea is really into it and everyone else is like, whoa, okay, I guess you guys have that in common. She pulls him aside later and they talk about how he is really interested in getting to know her because his current partner, Kaylor, is basically getting with every guy who comes in here. That is just not true at all. Rob is crossing his fingers that Andrea has a terrible personality and that they have no connection because he's so interested in her look-wise. And then when they do go off and have a conversation, that's not the case, okay? He's actually super into her. He puts on his blindfold, which I thought was kind of funny. He's like, I'm not used to meeting women in their underwear. And then she pulls it off him. Rob and Aaron both respectively go to their girls, Leah and Kaylor, and they tell them pretty much that they're interested in this new girl, but they're still, you know, in their couple. They want to keep getting to know them and that she's going to have to do a lot to get them to switch over, pretty much. But it kind of seems like they both would switch over right now, if you ask me. The only other guy that we really see Andrea talk to is Connor. She pulls him aside the next day. He loves that she's a personal trainer because, again, Connor is just the biggest gym rat you've ever seen, but he is very clear that he's really into Janae. Simultaneously to this conversation, Janae decides to do some sexy stretching, as she calls it. She's just like bending over, sticking her ass in the air. And I don't know if it works or not, but either way, again, he tells Andrea that he is kind of all in on Janae and that she seems like a nice girl, but he kind of wants to focus on that. And then Andrea goes to Janae afterwards and is like, he's in love with you. And Janae's like, oh, okay, cool. Good to know. Our other bombshell, Nicole, announces that she is a medical sales rep, and what do you know? So is Kendall. He was already obsessed with her. Again, she's a big booty brunette, that's his type, but now he's even more into her. Like, what? We have the same job? So cool. So she pulls him aside. They have a conversation, and one of her first questions that she asks is how old he was when he lost his virginity, which I think is mostly because he said that he's only ever had one girlfriend, but still, that's like a crazy question to ask so early on. And his answer is even weirder to me. He says, "This is going to sound crazy, but I was in college because I was waiting to do that with the person I was going to marry." When did it become a weird thing to wait to have sex with your lifelong partner? Watching this show makes me worry for this generation, and it's also my generation, okay? But to hear somebody say, "This is going to sound absolutely crazy, but I actually didn't want to have sex with every person I met. I wanted that to be with someone I love." That's just like the most normal statement anyone's ever said, and I'm sick. Nicole also pulls Cordell, which again was the other guy that she kissed, and she kind of rolls her eyes when he says he's a model because she says she can't be with someone prettier than her, which I thought was kind of funny. The day after the bombshells arrive, Andrea gets a text stating that they are going on a date, each with the man of their choosing. Andrea chooses Rob and Nicole picks Cordell. They basically sit on a picnic blanket on the beach, 5 feet away from the other couple, and these dates are honestly very uneventful. Both couples hit it off and end up kissing at the end, and Rob specifically asks Andrea, "Hey, can you not tell Leah about this? I want to tell her myself." Then, in a twist, there is a second date, okay? They each get to pick one additional guy to invite for the second half of the date, I guess. So Nicole chooses Kendall and Andrea chooses Aaron. Basically, they both pick the two guys that they kissed on the first night. No surprise there. Aaron does not say goodbye to Kaylor on the way out to the date, which obviously upsets her. Andrea and Aaron actually do have one conversation that I made a note of. He shares that he wants to adopt kids in addition to having his own, and that he wants to have a bunch of kids. And honestly, this surprised me about him in a good way. On Nicole and Kendall's date, he shares that he was a major nerd when he was a kid. To this, she's like, "Oh my God, no way. I was a nerd too. I used to have this thing called a GameCube." Do you know what that is? A GameCube? Like, it's some niche thing that no one's heard of. It's a Nintendo device that was like a huge deal. And then she shares something even more vulnerable. She says that she used to play this game called Monkey Ball. And he's like, "I love Monkey Ball." She's like, "You've heard of Monkey Ball? No one knows what that game is." Girl, lots of people know what Monkey Ball is. She says that her dad told her that that was like a thing of Asian culture. And so I guess she decided that that is something that normal American kids have no experience with. I absolutely played Super Monkey Ball on multiple devices. My dad, when I was growing up, had a flip phone that had Super Monkey Ball on it. Like, it came on it. It is super fun. It's a great game. So I understand you guys loving it, but like, we're not crazy unique here. Okay. Also, she says, "Hey, I remember you told me that your longest relationship was 5 years." And he's like, "Oh no, it was actually just 2 years." Do you know whose longest relationship was 5 years? Cordell. Okay. She's mixing these two men up. And I'm not saying that I wouldn't do this because I probably would, but I would actually be pissed if someone I was talking to did that. You know, double standard in my brain, and I was judging her for this, okay? Also, I felt like I was uncovering something, like I was a sleuth. I know that this is probably common knowledge. Love Island sleuths go way deeper than this, but I was proud of myself for remembering that Cordell was 5 years and that it wasn't just a fluke that she messed up the number. Just like with the first half of the dates, both of these couples kiss, and then they go back to the villa, and of course, girls go with girls, guys go with guys, and we have a little download of the dates. How did everything go? Did you kiss anyone? And Andrea does share that she kissed both of the guys. Both of the girls do. But unfortunately, that does kind of break her agreement with Rob not to tell Leah. It was a tough situation, though. I think she did the right thing. What are you going to do, lie? No. Cordell and Nicole go off for another little conversation, and he gives her a tour of his tattoos because he has a sleeve on at least one arm. I honestly can't remember. And she notices that he has a tattoo that says her name. Apparently it's his aunt who passed away, which is very sweet, but I think she was kind of freaked out at first and he was really nervous to tell her. Nicole and Kendall top the Monkey Ball GameCube conversation because they bond over liking Star Wars. This is a direct quote from Nicole. She says, "Not a lot of people like Star Wars." Like, what galaxy far, far away are you from? Not a lot of movie franchises have more fans than Star Wars, Nicole. Aaron catches up with Kaylor after the date and is honest with her that they had a really good time together. And he shares that Andrea and Kaylor are very different. Andrea's a lot more level-headed. Her head is more screwed on straight or something like that. And it's like, you can say, hey, it's hard for me because you guys are so different. But when you just include one reason and it's clear that one is positive and one is negative, like, yeah, you guys are really different. She's not insane like you are. Hey, that's hurtful. Rob tells Leah that his date also went really well, but he's still really into her and wants to keep pursuing the connection. And he thanks her for being so cool about all of this, which she reacts really weirdly to, and he looks confused. Of course she reacts weirdly, okay? No one wants the compliment that you give them, even though it is a compliment, to be, you are so chill about me doing whatever I want and liking other people. She wants you to come back and be like, hey, thank you for being so cool about all of this, but it's obviously you. I like you so much more. Not, I'm still pursuing this other girl, and thank you so much for letting me do that. I love that about you. Leah goes back to her friends after the conversation and tells them she feels stupid for being so chill about all of this because it's really biting her right now. And everyone's like, no, you're spiraling. With the exception of Liv, because Liv cannot resist the urge to try to get everyone into confrontations. She's like, you need to go tell him exactly how you feel right now. Go do it. It's wasted if you're just thinking about it. You need to be honest. Have you talked to Hakeem today, or are you just egging everybody on to get in fights? Is that your strategy? Leah's concerns about Andrea are not unfounded, okay? She and Rob talk about their date, and she says basically that it was so good she didn't even care to go on a second date. So sorry, Aaron, but it seems like she's made her choice. He asks her if she would go snake wrangling with him because that's his job. And she's like, yeah, I guess. Like, I'd be kind of nervous. And then a bug crawls up and he's letting it like walk all over him, trying to get it to crawl on her. It crawls all over his head. Like, they are just so chill about this bug. Maybe they are perfect together, because I would be freaking out. I'd be like, yeah, I can't be with this guy because he expects me to go snake hunting and let bugs crawl on us while we make out, which they didn't get to do, by the way. They're like making eyes at each other, and then Leah walks up and interrupts in our second recognizable viral TikTok sound for me of the season. She asks him if they can chat really quick, and he's like, oh yeah, sure. Do you want me to come with you? And she says, no, I want her to come with me. Yeah, I'm talking to you. I love this attitude, and I love that it comes right on the heels of him telling her how chill she is. She's like, oh yeah? You think I'm chill? Let's see about that. No, let's see about it. She tells him that she really does not like the way he's handling this. He spent hours on a date with Andrea, came back, told Leah basically that it was a great date and that he's still kind of interested in pursuing her, and then goes off and talks to Andrea again for, she says, 2 hours. I don't know if that's accurate, but it's just kind of mean the way he's handling it. He's spending all of this time with her, neglecting Leah, even though he claims that he wants to explore both connections. They get into an argument and he's like, why don't you trust me? And then he walks off and breaks down crying, which was a major shock to me. I did not see that coming at all. He collects himself a little bit, goes back to Leah, and is still crying somewhat. And he's like, yeah, I like you so much, but I'm just not sure if you're the right girl for me. And she's like, you don't think I'm the right girl for you? And he's like, I didn't say that. I said, I'm not sure. Rob has a way of saying things that are obviously going to be interpreted in a certain way, even though it's not exactly what he says. And then he gets mad when they're interpreted that way. He's like, where'd you get that from? Well, it's basically what you said. When he comes back crying to her, she never asks him why he's crying or how he's feeling. Like, she's kind of focused on her own feelings. And I get both sides of this, but I do think that if somebody's crying, you should console them, even if you're mad at them. And in typical Rob fashion, the second that I start to agree with him on something, he makes me regret that decision, because he says to her, he doesn't like that she cuts him off. Okay, valid, whatever. And that they don't have a groove sexually. Obviously that hurts her feelings, and it's really confusing to her because they've been making out every single night in bed. And I really like this line. She says that he wishes he'd told her that she's such an ogre to touch. I love that. She is kind of blowing this out of proportion, but I totally get it. If somebody said to me, you're hot, but like we're not in a groove sexually, I'm like, oh, so you're not attracted to me. Oh, so all of this making out that we've been doing is like against your will. I totally get why she's drawing that conclusion. Even though this was upsetting to watch, I really enjoyed this part of the episode because we see how people kind of rally around her. Serena gets so defensive over her right away. And she's like, you do not want to sleep with Rob tonight. I know that. Let's sleep together in soul ties. Come with me, girly. You don't have to be alone and you don't have to be with him. Like, I'm going to support you. And then she also talks to Kendall the next day and he's like, okay, so the only problem is that you guys don't have a groove sexually. Like, girl, you're sexy. This is not a problem for you. This is such an easy hurdle. What are you worried about? I thought this was really sweet of Kendall, and I'm kind of warming to him. I really wasn't sure about him in the first couple of episodes, but he is a good friend, I'm noticing, to, again, Cordell and then to Leah. So that's a green flag. Rob is continuing to kind of spiral after his conversation with Leah, and he jumps in the pool and then goes under the pool deck, which I had to back this up because I was like, where did he just go? But there's basically at the edge of the pool, the floor there's a gap. So he's underwater and under the ground, but he can still stay above water for breathing. So he's kind of like out of the shot of the cameras. I was so confused. Why did they build this way? Later on, Andrea is talking, I believe, to Nicole. I'm not 100% sure, but it doesn't really matter. And she says that she doesn't actually mind this drama. In fact, it excites her, which I do not love, okay? Why do you get excited about Rob kind of hurting somebody in the process of getting with you? I'm just not into that. The next day when she talks to Rob, he tells her that his emotions kind of got the best of him and that he thinks one factor in all of this is that he has not relieved himself in a long time and things are just bottled up. And she's like, that makes total sense. Ew. Ew, I don't want to hear that. Serena tells Janae that ever since she told Cordell that she wasn't really interested in him and that she wanted a break, he has been really respecting that boundary, and it's like kind of hot. Like, she's kind of reconsidering whether she views him in a romantic light. She's so real for being indecisive like this, especially on a show like this. Like, they're depriving you of sleep. You don't have any contact with the outside world. You're on television. Like, there's so much pressure. I feel like it would be really easy to fall into this. Janae does sneak off and tell Cordell what she heard from Serena, and he's like, yes, but I'm gonna play it cool. Like, he does not want to let on at all that he knows this information. He doesn't want to jinx anything, but he's really excited that there's still a chance. Hakeem decides at this point to pull Nicole aside, which he has not done yet. I don't think they've spoken outside of a group setting. And this interaction, the way that he pulls her, the way that he says, hey, let's go talk, made me realize that he's the where's my hug guy. I would bet some serious assets, if I had him, that Hakeem was that guy in high school. Okay, it's just so obvious to me. She tells him that it's come to her attention that her type is ugly guys. And he's like, what do you mean ugly guys? You like ugly guys? She's like, well, I think they're hot, but my friends think they're ugly. And he's like, okay, that's perfect. Then I'm gonna be enough for you, which honestly was a great response. Hakeem annoys me quite a bit and he would be too much for me, but I actually do think he's kind of a good catch if you can get into his personality. I think he's a nice guy. He later tells Connor that the conversation was really good and it gave him a tingly. Rob and Leah have another talk. He tells her that he feels like they're completely misunderstanding each other, miscommunicating all over the place. And as much as he still likes her and wants to get to know her, he feels kind of differently about the whole connection now that that thing transpired with him crying and her not comforting him. Like, things are just going really well with Andrea, and it's hard for him to feel the same about Leah that he once did. Hakeem gets a text telling everybody to go to the fire pit, and at the fire pit, somebody else gets a text saying that Nicole and Andrea need to go to the front so that they can pick who they would like to couple up with. I want to know how they decide whether Ariana is going to be there or not. Does she put in her contract how many appearances she'll make, and then they just pick and choose when those are, and the less significant recouplings, they just kind of host themselves by getting texts? Was she supposed to show up for this and there was some kind of conflict and so they can always fall back on the text method? Like, I just want to know. Anyway, the boys are asked to stand up if they're interested in coupling up with either of these two ladies, and the four that stand up are Cordell, Hakeem, Kendall, and Rob. And he whispers a little apology to Leah on the way up. Rob is the last one to stand up. By the way, the other three are already there. It seems like he's maybe struggling with whether he should or not. And then he goes and everyone looks shocked other than Liv. Liv puts her hand over her mouth and giggles a little bit to herself. Like, I think she is a mean person. I'm sorry. Andrea chooses first, and of course she picks Rob. Again, she basically said that Aaron didn't even exist to her after the date that she shared with him. They even kiss a little bit, like they share a little peck, which so does the other couple, but it's different. In front of Leah, I feel like Andrea is trying to step on her toes a little bit, and it's her right as a bombshell to do that, but I don't have to like it. Okay. And Leah doesn't either. She actually mouths to him F you. And he's like, what did you say? And she says it out loud. So yeah, you have an enemy now, Rob. That's for sure. And then Nicole chooses Kendall. So our nerds get to be together at last. They can talk about all of their interests that just nobody else would understand. I wonder what it's going to be next. I cannot wait to find out. But that is the end of episode 8 and therefore the end of this recap. I did the math and I'm a little less than a quarter of the way through all the episodes, not including After Sun, because I'm not watching After Sun, okay? And things are really picking up. If this pace continues or picks up, which is usually what happens with Love Island, it gets better as the season goes on and couples are more established, then I'm going to totally agree with the consensus that season 6 is better than season 7, but we will have to continue to find out the truth. Okay. I hope that you guys enjoyed this episode. Make sure that you follow me or subscribe on whatever platform you are using to listen to this right now. I'm going to do my best to avoid unforeseen circumstances going forward. Okay. You have my word on that. And I hope that you will let me talk your ear off one day soon. Bye.